Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to the CJS channel, where today I'm ranking my own videos.
That's right, one bruised hip and two bruised knees later, we are back for an already iconic mini-series here on the CJS channel. But first, for those who celebrate it, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I hope you all enjoyed the holiday break. I didn't get a break, but that doesn't matter right now, as we can look forward to this pretty chilled out video where I rank these 42 videos and 2 live streams from 2025. Just like last year, if you'd like to rank all the videos yourself, the link to this custom tier list will be at the top of the description down below, and if you do that, make sure you take a screenshot and send it in my Discord server or to me directly, and you'll get a guaranteed shout out in the next OST reaction video out in 2 weeks. Also, just like last year, are the tiers, excluding a new one at the bottom for any unreleased or disqualified videos, which you'll see very soon, but alongside it, we've got delete for F tier, clicking off, C tier has now been renamed from OK to Solid Watch, liking and subbing, telling the grandkids for S tier, and of course for S+, the greatest of 2025, reserved and exclusive for, in my savage opinion, the single greatest video from me of this year. So make sure you watch all the way through this video, as that will be all revealed at the end. One final thing, you're also going to be able to see a separate ranking of these videos based on 5 different categories. Intro, response, so how well the video performed and what the comments said about it, originality, entertainment, and also my general opinion on how the video turned out, earning up to a total of 50 points, which you'll be able to see around about here. So let's start off with a disqualified video, being CJS's best of 2024. And despite it being the first video that I uploaded this year, when I was technically last year, it was of course based on the videos from the previous year, 2024, which you probably would have been able to work out from the title and the thumbnail, which by the way took a ridiculously long time to make. But this featured an awesome intro, being a montage of all of them in the classic Leviathan and Anahita soundtrack, but after that, it was just 35 minutes of my best moments in chronological order, which looking at my analytics was not very engaging for the viewers. And it was my worst performing video of the year in terms of views and likes, so when I do the best of 2025 next week, it will be in a different format. Also, very importantly, at the end I talked about the future of the channel and the end of year subscriber goal that I had, which I'll cover on the channel very soon with a new video, but yeah, this is still disqualified. Now for our first proper video of the year, Terraria Calamity Got Me Like. The intro was originally meant to be me hanging upside down and catching a football, but quite a few things went wrong, including almost breaking my back. I did make a slight mistake with the Chambers of the Inferior Living Beings montage, as the music volume was too high, but there were 2 main prominent features in this video altogether, the bad puns, and tried to do the same with the crafting interface. However, I couldn't mine it. Guess you could say I was facing great difficulty to keep my storage organised. I really had to dig deep for that one. After doing some research... Sorry, I'm so unfunny. And the brutal Skeletron fight at the end. Because I could only fight it once a day in-game, with the pretty janky teleportation mechanic of it, I got so frustrated. What am I doing? I'm stuck! But eventually I defeated it with the skin of my teeth, which made it pretty entertaining. The edits were decent too, but this year I'm holding myself to an even higher standard, so I only place it in B tier Solid Watch. Our third video of the year was the third part of me ranking the ULTRAKILL OST, called the ULTRAKILL soundtrack Blew Me Away. This is one of the first times I tried something different with the thumbnail, and the first time it didn't really work, as it was the second worst performing video in the entire series. Although saying that, it still did get 45,000 views. The intro was a great idea, being called by my dad, renamed as like, comment and subscribe, but in reality it didn't look as good on camera. The video started off with me listening to Minos Prime's monologue for the first time, something that would come back to haunt me 8 months later, before listening to Insert Disc 2, a track that would become a running joke on the channel even up until now. I feel bad for all the other tracks that have to compete with it. It was so creative and emotional. It deserves its own tier in S+++. I did make a couple of mistakes, such as with the audio, where this time it was sometimes too quiet, but luckily I was able to fix that in the editing. However, I did miss a part where I messed up in a sentence. The strings were my favourite part, but it was just a little too short, so I'm going to place it... The strings were... The strings were my favourite part. To be fair, in these videos I very rarely make mistakes, but I have absolutely no idea how I missed that in the final edit. I guess I would have been rushing in the editing process a little bit due to time constraints. That would be my best guess. But overall, the feedback from you lot was overall pretty good, as a lot of predictions in this video were on point. But with those mistakes, I'm going to be harsh. C tier. Now we have perfect gameplay of Terraria Calamity, but was it really perfect? Well, first, although the intro was a little slow, I think the ending of it caught a lot of people off guard. Welcome back to the CJS channel, where today we're back playing Terraria. Normally I recorded my Terraria videos on Wednesdays and only just about get them finished in time for the Sunday upload. However, this week, on the Wednesday, I was flying out to Iceland. So to keep my 100% upload streak I had at the time alive, I took Monday off work and recorded a slightly shorter video. Did an all-nighter editing, and somehow, after working on this video for 34 hours straight, I just about got it all done. So what made this episode supposedly so perfect? Well, for starters, I flew through all the mini objectives, almost, which included obtaining and wearing the maid vanity set, which you lot have been non-stop asking since for a cosplay in that. Got jump scared. What was that? Oh! Found and activated the boss rush and breezed through all the main objectives too, including first trying Queen Bee. So yeah, I'd say it went pretty perfectly. And although the total rating is the highest so far, the intro carries it, which holds a little bit less value than the other categories, so I'm going to be harsh once again and place it in another meh! From this point, we enter what most people refer as Prime CJS, as there are some absolute classics coming up that I uploaded over the next coming months, starting with the heaviest of heavy hitters. ULTRAKILL has the best soundtrack ever. It's my most viewed video currently on 84,000. It's my most liked video almost on 4,000, and it contains possibly the most famous moment ever, the Tenebrae Rossa Sangue incident. It also had tons of other incredibly memorable moments, such as forgetting I'm an unk and almost breaking my ankle. My most viewed clip ever, at least on one of my own accounts, with this somehow getting over 500,000 views on TikTok. I need an ambulance! No one on this planet has the right to be able to go that hard with anything! This video just has so many highlights. When releasing it, I knew it was going to do well, but never in my wildest of dreams did I expect it to take off like this. Just from this video alone, I gained over 1,000 subscribers, and it's still going up 10 months later. This is a generational video on the CJS channel and a strong contender for the GOAT. Now we have the 10th and final normal Terraria Calamity playthrough video. I got trolled by my own fans. Here we just got back from Spain. As you can see in this pretty mediocre intro, so I was the most tanned I'd ever been, and also the most stupid I'd ever been. At this point here, I somehow accidentally muted my mic. I still have no idea how, but look at the footage just after.
Embarrassing!
I love the build a massive new arena montage due to the Rock Mountain OST from Mario Kart 7, which worked a bit too well. It featured the 5th and final appearance to date of Storytime with CJS, where I explained the reasons for missing an upload for the first ever time. It was a mix of food poisoning, holiday and PC issues. There were some more funny moments, but overall it didn't feel like there was any real standout moments up until the end, where I took on Steam God in a gruelingly lengthy battle and got trolled by my own fans. No Sandwich Lord has told me to throw in 5 guide voodoo dolls at once in the lava in hell for a surprise, and no, it won't spawn the wall of flesh. Here we go. No Sandwich Lord! You're banned! But despite me recording this on the Thursday, and consequently having one less day for the edits, the video actually turned out really polished, but just decent in all areas, so another B tier. Next up we have a video that almost broke me in an unexpected way. My dream holiday vlog number 1. This was the cause of so many issues, mainly uploading the footage from my camera and phone onto my PC. It almost broke my PC and I wasn't able to use it for a couple of days. It broke my phone and I wasn't able to use it. Full stop. Just basically everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. But for how the actual video turned out, everything that could have gone right went right. This was probably my best intro ever, having highlights from the trip all condensed down to a few seconds, and my word was there a lot of highlights. It was one of the best weeks of my life. Travelling to Iceland to explore Reykjavik, do a 5D experience, see the Northern Lights, kinda, watch exploding geysers in the Golden Circle, see the most beautiful view ever, which got made into art for my channel banner, watch live lava flow, quad biking on snow, go in the world famous Blue Lagoon, almost drowned, and finally made my dream come true since 2018 by diving in between two continents separated by just 7 metres. After catching my breath from the inconceivable sight and cold, I swam to touch North America before turning around to touch Europe. Considering I'd only seen 1 or 2 vlogs before making this video, and it was the first one I'd ever made, it turned out incredibly well. I spent ages on Epidemic Sound, which is a subscription I pay £120 annually for, so I can use certain music in my videos, searching for the best and most fitting ones, and I am so proud of it.
I think things like this is what life's all about. Doing things out of the ordinary and making memories that will last a lifetime, and this definitely falls under that category. Well, I really feel like David Attenborough right now.
When people I'm not that close with ask me for a video of mine to watch, I almost always suggest this video. Partially because it's one of my only non-gaming videos, but also because I think it's one of my best ever. And even though it didn't get that many views, the feedback on it from the people that did watch it was incredible. Another easy S tier. Oh, also, I forgot to mention, at the end of this video, I announced the soon-to-be opening of my Discord server, which is both the best and worst decision I've ever made. But all the S-tier tracks won't necessarily be placed in order, as at the end, I'll rank them all from worst to best before declaring the GOAT of 2025. But let's get back to ranking my videos for part 5 of 7 in the Ranking the ULTRAKILL OST series, with ULTRAKILL'S Layer 7 is a masterpiece. And wow, is that an accurate title. Although the intro was reused from my Iceland vlog where I was just about to go diving in between the tectonic plates, I can't fault it too much as not many people saw it. Just before recording this video, I hit 5,000 subscribers, and to celebrate, the CJS's basement became public, and I ranked the other 8 tracks. Kinda. As for the first and currently only time, one of the tracks was copyrighted, so I had to edit my reaction out and only include the conclusion part of it. After the unreal success of the previous episode, I would say excluding the live streams and a certain KSI shoots coming up, this is the most nervous I'd ever been for a recording, which, from me watching it back, I can kind of see, mainly the first couple of tracks, although no one picked up on it in the comments. Excluding that, however, this is the video where I'd say I'd really started analysing the tracks a bit deeper and more music expertise. And now that I started to understand the ULTRAKILL lore a little bit more, almost every prediction I made for the context of these tracks were accurate, which I remember being very gratified. I wasn't sure if I should mention this, but a couple of hours before this recording, my granddad tragically passed, which I thought would mean I wouldn't be able to record this video as I was understandably quite upset, but luckily once I started I was able to forget about it for a couple of hours. However, it made the editing process very difficult. As with the ULTRAKILL OST, a few more absolute cinematic bangers featured in this episode, which did help that and the whole video out altogether. Ultra Church, The World Looks Red, Hear the Siren Song Call of Death, etc. And although it didn't have the highs of ULTRAKILL has the best soundtrack ever, this video overall was very polished and balanced, especially for a video that I made 9 months ago, so I'd place this in A tier. In the comments of that video, a ton of you suggested that I wasn't ready for War Without Reason, an OST that would be featured in Music Expert Ranks the new ULTRAKILL soundtracks. With this video, there is an elephant in the room that we will need to address, but first, the intro. The reason why it's slanted on the slide a bit is because I wanted to get the camera angle showing my face through the wing mirror, and after probably 10 attempts, this was my best one unfortunately, so I'll give it a 5 as you can't really see me. But this was another great video in most people's opinion, and a very emotional one too. Starting with Suffering Leaves, which is based on suicide, and after talking about it I actually put a link in the description for people that might need help with it before moving on to Dance Macabre. Now, despite this video being my third highest viewed ever and second for this year, it's actually my most disliked video ever, receiving 73, and I think there's one reason for that. I knew there was a track composed in the 19th century with the same name, however I'd never heard it before, so after creating a disqualified for not being an OST tier midway through episode 1, I thought it was a remaster similar to what we heard in these tracks too, and I had 76 comments. Yes, I counted, not very happy about that. Moving on, however, we made some more iconic moments in the, at the time, the new Dead Heat Pulse, and especially the aforementioned War Without Reason, breaking my green screen for the first of 100 times, and becoming my most viewed short ever, currently sitting on 39,000 and rising. But because the negative comments on my minor mistake, which I did fix at the beginning of the 7th and final episode, the response rating has gone down, also lowering this video overall to just a high B tier. And after back-to-back ULTRAKILL rankings, it was time to return to Terraria and complete pre-hard mode, with at the time my biggest recording ever of 32 hours, as you can see here, with one of my favourite thumbnails and titles, The End. Before I even began the intro, I had to put a disclaimer about how much time and effort went into this video, as some of my favourite things continued with the intro of shooting a gun and hitting a target. Damn, my arm looks good in that. Before plummeting off a slide in Lanzarote and exposing my hairline. Okay, I've got to knock a point off for that. I will warn you, a fair bit of self-glazing is coming up now, as in my opinion, from the very beginning, the edits were super funny and on point, the pacing was excellent and explained well in the voiceover throughout, excluding possibly the build a house in every biome segment, but I intentionally made that longer to show you just how many long days and late nights that all took, and also how proud I was, particularly of the Shimmer and Underworld builds, the ones you saw in the thumbnail. But after all that, it was time for the CJS vs Wall of Flesh chapter. Extreme pressure, extreme raging, and at the end, extreme elation. This was so intense from both a playing and viewing experience, especially the edit I made on my final attempt, showcasing some highlights from the previous 10 episodes faded in the background in tangent with the music. It was actually a bit of a last minute implementation while editing, but I think that edit and how the war ended so perfectly with the track looping was one of the greatest things I have ever created. After 5 months and 71 in-game hours, I have done it! Yeah! I don't know if this is cringe for me to say on my own video, but watching this back gives me goosebumps every time. Especially this part here, where I once again dashed in the wrong direction, going down to just 34 HP, which would have completely changed the outcome of this whole video. And I think those feelings could definitely be exaggerated from me actually experiencing those emotions live, but either way, super easy S tier. I don't think anyone would disagree, and another very strong contender for the GOAT. Well, it can't get much better than that, can it? Well, according to this next video's description,
it can.
As all it says is, this might be my best video ever. And that is literally every video on April 1st. Of course, the thumbnail is me clickbaiting leaving YouTube, effectively taking a friendly little dig at every other YouTuber who does this, but with a CJS twist. The intro was non-existent really, just a very depressed speech before going on to say how I'm totally quitting YouTube, but with every clip, I'd run to the bathroom to wet my eyes, face, hair, and eventually body in the shower to imitate me crying. Before, haha, April Fools, next video's out on Sunday. Truly generational effort put into this one. The whole video probably took, half an hour-ish, which is why my opinion score is so low, resulting in my shortest ever video by a full 9 minutes. The actual really frustrating thing about this video is for the first 24 hours or so, this was actually performing better than the end. A video that took roughly 150 times the amount of time to make. The algorithm is crazy. Despite the overly complimentary description, and of course the highest average view percentage duration of any of my videos sitting at 76.4% if I remember correctly, I feel like I could not compare a jokey April Fool's video like this with all of my others, so I'm going to place it down in D tier. Also, I've just realised I've been talking about this video longer than it actually was. The main reason as to why that video was super short was because I was busy working on my biggest OST reaction video I have ever done on the channel to date, the highly anticipated Ultra Finals, or in more professionally correct terms, ranking the ULTRAKILL'S soundtrack final. Starting of course with the intro and ignoring the fact it was incredibly embarrassing doing multiple takes on a busy beach screaming. The intro is actually meant to be me climbing up onto the roof of a 2-story building with my chair and green screen behind me. However, I physically couldn't get up there, so I might reattempt to do that intro in the future just without the equipment, as my chair is surprisingly heavy and my green screen would probably fall off the roof. Well, fall off the roof, I might push it. Now for the actual video, this took so long to record, across multiple days actually, resulting in the longest and by far most analytical OST ranking I've ever done. I will say, I didn't really know how to structure out the video. I knew I wanted to pull the tracks out of the hat and the tournament style elimination after, but for the semi-finals I ended up deciding to rewatch my original reaction, which is okay, but I feel like I could have done something better with more time. However, with these super deep reviews on 12 S-tier tracks, plus the extra editing for the tournament style, it already took 2 weeks to complete. Because this wasn't a first time reaction, I think that did affect the entertainment value, which likely played a part in it being the lowest viewed video in the series. I do believe the thumbnail looked awesome, without my face there, taking inspiration from the Mario Kart DS title screen, but despite this being a video I put so much effort into, it unfortunately didn't have the same results, as I low-key expected this to be my biggest ever video of how highly anticipated it was, so I'll place this top of A tier. After finally ranking every ULTRAKILL OST, we moved aside from those for a little while as I started playing ULTRAKILL for the first ever time, my most requested series ever. And of course, I had to start it off with a bang by replicating my first episode of playing TERRARIA CALAMITY for the first ever time, but upgraded with a Diesel appearance. Before creating an intro montage in beat with one of the previously ranked soundtracks, which despite me usually hating editing, has always been fun to make. I'm over falling down. I started off with choosing violent difficulty, before realising it was too violent and moved back down to standard. I think I might want to change difficulty just for now. But not all of that was a skill issue on my end, as almost for the entirety of this video, because my FPS was so high, the game glitched out and everything was 2 times speed. And yes, I mean everything. The enemies, the 1 speed, even the death screen. The fact I even managed to defeat Sword Machine and Something Wicked was crazy, and although I came out the recording thinking I didn't do very well, as of course I didn't know the game was bugged, I still enjoyed it a lot. It just negatively affected my first time experience in the most CJS way possible. I do also wish I had a bit more time to edit the video, as with it being my first ULTRAKILL playthrough video, I wasn't entirely sure how to structure it all out, which I did improve on over time, but despite it being my most viewed non-OST ranking video and the fairly high rating of 39, for me it's only worthy of B tier. Now we move on to a trilogy of uploads relating to fishing in Terraria, starting with my first ever livestream. I was so unbelievably nervous going into this, especially after the disastrous start. I don't know where my face is. I'm so sorry. I don't know what to do. There we go. Wait. Yeah, here we go. I'm here. Alright, so there's a couple settings that I No! But once the nerves settled down, it was genuinely so much fun, and chat was amazing. Really helped me out with making content, as my hands were kind of tied behind my back, only really being able to do fishing, in particular the live Discord Q&A segment, which went much better than expected, honestly, with the help of my main moderator, Eternium.
Sorry if my mic is bad, this is the only one I have. It is complete garbage.
The standout moments were definitely the in-game boss events. Why are you all putting chair 45 in the chat? What is going on? What is going on? And chat making me do things I wasn't very proud of. But for a first stream where I wasn't that prepared, I think it went really well. I do wish I changed some OBS settings beforehand so it recorded in a slightly higher quality, but other than that, no real flaws. Beat it. Next up is my first ever live stream, highlights and best bits. Despite it being a condensed 21-minute version of the stream, this video didn't do very well, being my third worst performing video of the year, so despite it being more entertaining, the response rating cannot go very high. At least this video had an intro of some sort. I did do some voiceovers for this as it would all be featured in the main video the following week, but for me, even though I feel like it is an entertaining montage, I just can't place it any higher than C tier. Mate! And I'll just leave you with this clip to summarise. Should we summarise what I've done this stream, okay? So I've done the griddy, I've taken a chunk out of my green screen, I've pushed it over, made multiple holes in my wall from breaking the green screen even more. After the stream that lasted for a total of 5¼ hours, I was very tired. However, that would be nothing as I still had to fish for 24 hours straight in Terraria Calamity. Full movie. I tried to make it work. In easily the most painful video I have ever done, I started off back on a quad bike, but this time a little more clear that it's me, before delving straight away into my new hard mode world. Throughout this video, I think my voiceover was the best it has ever been, discussing information and portraying the story when necessary, really clearly and efficiently, which came into use when I built the world's biggest Terraria boat, as it took 11½ hours. That's longer than most of my recordings, by the way. And after another few hours of prep work, it was time to begin the timer and the aforementioned livestream. After all that was done, due to me needing to farm for more fishing bait, I still had 21 hours of fishing to go through. Now I could talk about all the little components for another 30 minutes, but as this video is already going to be coming out late, I'm just going to talk about the two main highlights. Well, main highlight and low light, as 19 hours in, I threw up. Without going into too much detail, I was so ill from playing Terraria for pretty much 30 hours straight. Because of some previous objectives, my body just shut down completely, alternating between scalding hot and freezing cold, completely full up to starvingly hungry, and every bone in my body ached. I was just chucked up everywhere. Yeah, this was genuinely one of the worst I have ever felt. And that's coming from someone that was a few seconds away from dying IRL a few years ago. Slightly depressing CJS lore there, sorry. But despite all that, my desire for content prevailed to make an epic final sequence. 3. Going into this challenge, I had a lot of confidence, especially after my first ever livestream. 2. But then it hit me. This video has had 55 hours of footage, and I felt more pain and suffering than ever before, and on multiple occasions were seconds away from giving up. 1. But then I realised my motto. Never gave up. We never give up! I never gave up. On the CJS channel, we never give up. Yes! Yes! Finally, I am done. Finally, I can go to sleep. And most importantly, finally, I can tick off the ultimate objective, completing the episode. Yes! Everything that I've caught, as well as all the Angler Quest rewards I've gotten, I will put on screen now, which I know will take a while. Yeah, well, it took 6 hours. How fun. Surely after all that, that's got to be one of my best performing videos, right? It got 2,000 views. At least I'll be telling the grandkids about it. After the 12th and currently final released Terraria playthrough video, we go back now to the more popular series to have the true ULTRAKILL experience. After wanting to switch up the intros from me being in Iceland, I came up with the genius idea to squash the old garden shed in between me and a wall so I could say, I'm in your walls, see? My ribs were absolutely crushed from this. The two most important things in this episode was I limited my FPS to 60 to fix a glitch and search up a female robot's age. But before the please take me away, let's rewind a bit. With the now manageable gameplay, I started off with P ranking the entire prelude, defeating the hardest boss, finding all 4 secret slabs to unlock the alternate pistol, and advance through layer 2 Lust. Kinda. Yep, there we go. The editing and pacing was massively improved from the first episode, but now it's time for genuinely one of my favourite segments ever, the Mirage date. It was absolutely hilarious, and depressing because V1's game is much better than mine. Once in a lifetime luck, you just appeared to bump into the prettiest girl in town. What? They're saying that I'm once in a lifetime.
No.
The episode climaxed with an epic boss battle, which brought together a massive step up from episode 1, so I'll place the true ULTRAKILL experience at the bottom of A tier. At this point we begin to move out of what most people call Prime CJS, with a brand new ranking series that I've been teasing on the channel for a little while at this point, ranking the Risk of Rain 2 soundtrack. This started off with a bang, bringing back the Coming Up opening from my oldest Minecraft videos before teleporting back to Iceland for the final time. After introducing the tiers, I began with Through a Cloud Darkly and the title theme, where I really tried to analyse it deeply while still keeping it on the more simple side and explain certain techniques more, as I know this video would bring in a new audience. Just 5 tracks in, I met Terra Pluvium, and after this I was so happy, as this is the most requested OST after ULTRAKILL, but admittedly there was a tiny bit of doubt this soundtrack would live up to these same incredible highs. But after hearing Chris Christodoulou's electric guitar, I then knew this video and series would be in safe hands. I remember finishing recording this video at almost 4 AM when I had a work exam at 9 AM, so maybe not the smartest move ever from me, but it all worked out in the end as I passed the exam and got the video out on time. A big reason as to why I was recording so late was because it was quite a long one, featuring 10 of the 20 total tracks, plus a full Christodoulou conclusion at the end, as I only wanted this to be 2 parts, as it would allow me some extra time to prepare for a game releasing soon. Watching this back, I was surprised on how well I did analytically, especially for the time, and although Risk of Rain 2 didn't bring in those same ULTRAKILL viewership numbers, although nothing has since, for me, this is another A tier. I think discovering a brand new soundtrack and composer was a big part of the fun there, and that continued with music experts stunned by ranking the Risk of Rain 2 soundtrack. I'm just going to say it, this intro is pretty bad. I was running out of ideas and I only recorded it on the morning the video came out. But what wasn't running out of ideas, these incredible soundtracks. The Dehydration of Risk of Rain 2, Antarctic Oscillation, and possibly the greatest OST we have ever heard on the channel, the rain formerly known as Purple, all made it into S tier despite only ranking 5 OSTs this video. But wait, I thought this was only going to be 2 parts. Well, with me analysing these tracks with incredible depth, and this OST featuring much longer tracks, the latter and eventual GOAT of this series being 8 minutes for example, I ran out of time, which had already lowered this bit in the rankings, and that's without this mistake. A critique I saw in the comments. I don't know if Risk of Rain 2 is one of those games where if you die the music stops, but if it is, I don't know if Risk of Rain 2 is one of those games where if you die, the music stops. For some reason during this recording, my eyes were stinging like crazy, triggered from these 2 great big bright lights directly in front of me, which resulted in me looking away from the screen a little bit too much. But other than that, it was still a solid watch. B tier. Now we move on to my 50th video. That probably shouldn't have even happened in the first place, but I am so glad it did, as Risk of Rain 2's Con lentitud poderosa is perfection. Literally having a Risk of Rain for the intro was a clever idea I'd had for a while, but for the first ever time in the UK, the weather had typically been good around then, although I did do more takes, however that was the only one I could use as my phone storage ran out. Knowing I only had to listen, analyse and rank 5 tracks again took some weight off my shoulders, as it ensured I'd be able to rank all of these tracks deeply and still get the video out okay, which was immediately called into action with 11.5 minutes of the raindrop that fell to the sky. Once again, Christopher's unique style prevailed with back-to-back S tiers through You're Gonna Need a Bigger Ukulele and the perfect Con lentitud poderosa. Well, at least it was perfect until the Greenscreen fought back. What on... At this point, I'd analyse the OSTs pretty much the same to now, maybe with a little less musical knowledge as I'm still learning all the time, and I think this overall showcased how far I've come with my video production, as this was released on the 1st of June, the 1-year anniversary of CJS uploads. There were of course other memorable moments on this episode, but overall this is just such a good video. No mistakes, my rankings in my opinion were very justifiable and accurate, and the only bad thing I can say about this video was the views and the 1.8% dislikes for some reason, so I'll place this in A tier. That last clip was a few days ago, and despite me carrying on recording after for quite a while longer, all of the footage, as well as all my recording notes, so what I wanted to talk about in every video, as well as all the research that I did for the category scoring, have been completely erased. Yeah, that's why this video's late. But I cannot wait to re-record everything! Yeah! But let's just ignore my pain and pretend that never happened, as remember that game releasing soon that I mentioned? Well, now it was out, so I published 50 plus best Mario Kart World tips and tricks. I've got a fair few things to talk about with this one, including this absolutely glorious intro, which in itself has a bit of backstory. First of all, I hate to disappoint you, but I didn't buy this cone outfit just for an intro. It was actually for a fancy dress house party that I've been invited to, and for once I said yes, as normally I'm too busy making videos. So that was on the Saturday, or so I thought, as when I woke up that day I checked my phone, 28 missed calls. Where were you last night? Oh, my phone's definitely broken. And then these actual cones. As I had none laying around, obviously it would be kind of weird if I did, I drove around my area for ages, still dressed as a cone by the way, looking for some to steal, borrow, and after 10 minutes I found 2 on someone's drive that had just been freshly painted. So I quickly borrowed them, which in fairness turned out pretty well, and I gave them back straight after, coincidentally just as the homeowners came out looking for the cones. Thinking about it now, imagine how weird it would have been for them. They come out of their house, see that their cones have been missing, and then some random dude dressed as a cone pulls up in a Ford Focus, gets their cones out and puts it back on their freshly painted drive. It must have been a fever dream for them seeing that. It's definitely one to tell the grandkids. The actual video now genuinely turned out to exceed my expectations. Pretty much all 50 tips were really helpful and presented well from spending countless hours playing, running tests and scripting since the very hour of release. The 2 big negatives was how this video cost me about £600 or over 800 USD, as I had to buy the Switch 2, Mario Kart World of course, and a capture card, all for it to get just 700 views. And looking back, the reason for this was because the thumbnail wasn't great, and basically none of my subscribers were Mario Kart fans, so they didn't watch it, consequently affecting it negatively in the algorithm. And the hype for this game died before it was even released due to the ridiculous price tag. So Mario Kart World went from me thinking that this could potentially be my new breakthrough on YouTube to becoming a disaster. However, I'm still going to rank this high as it was still a very professional tips and tricks video despite it being the first on the channel, so once again I think I'll go high A tier. The second and probably final Mario Kart video, despite getting a whopping 300 more views, wow, was a lot more of a disaster, where I asked a question, what is the best combo in Mario Kart World using maths? The intro was also a bit of a disaster, as I recorded it about 30 minutes before I had to leave for the airport, as I was going to Cyprus with some mates, so there's nothing creative here. At least there was more. This video predominantly features 2 big diagrams of all the character and later on kart stats, alongside their world records at the time, which took a long time to make on some B-Tech Microsoft Excel called LibreOffice Calc. Calc is just short for calculator by the way, I'm just using slang. Please get the reference. Despite this video being quite rushed so I could get the video out before I went abroad, the graphs looked good and were accurate before moving on to the final chapter where I spent ages testing for hidden stats, conducting 64 separate tests, all for the Mario Kart community's benefit. However, with me running out of time, I didn't quite get the video complete, so when I returned home almost a week later, ready to publish, the game had died even more and now other people had discovered all the information that I found first. Sorry, that was so annoying with really unfortunate timing, so because of that, the video kind of became obsolete lowering it down to D tier. Although both of these videos didn't perform very well, I still had a lot of fun making them, as I've always been a Mario Kart nerd. However, over time, I was starting to become an ULTRAKILL nerd, as playing ULTRAKILL for the first time made me crash out. Firstly, I've got to give the intro a 10 out of 10, as not only did a ton of the community get involved, it was so funny. I even made a short on the outtakes.
Yeah, I get it.
But this video, as a whole, I was quite proud of. The pacing and editing was up to par of what it would be if I made an episode like this now, at least the first half of the video with highlights featuring in the Gabriel fight, and some lowlights I guess as well. Like, where is he? I'm just looking around like, just trying to look for him whilst he just fists me from behind. Which was made up for by hearing the greatest OST of all time, now in game. Listen for its beauty. I began Act 2 here as well, which all went smoothly and was definitely the most fun I had playing ULTRAKILL up to that point, which I'd like to think reflected in the recording too. If I were to critique this at all, I wish I implemented more edits into the final third of the video, as time ran out for me and I had to give it more time to upload these videos earlier, as this was just before I upgraded my PC. However, concluding it with a rematch against V2, but now down the side of a pyramid made up for it. Again, a really solid video in my opinion, and although this was the first playthrough video since Minecraft not to feature any voiceover, I think the slight improvement of gameplay from part 2 made up for it, so I'll place it just above that in A tier. At the end of that video, I announced the beginning of the next OST ranking series that had been requested on the channel for quite a while at that point, which tragically had some consequences, as you can see by the thumbnail and the title. Ranking the vanilla TERRARIA CALAMITY soundtrack broke my green screen. The intro was interesting. Again, I was running out of ideas and this was a last minute decision, but something you will notice is how low the response rating is. So, why is that? Well, despite this first of 4 episodes being my most viewed out of the lot, it still sits on less than 3,000. Nothing compared to my past Terraria rankings. The video quality was good, by minimum on par with any other ranking video I've done, and this series had been requested for a while, so what went wrong? At the point of release, I had 8,800 subscribers, with around a quarter of them being from past Terraria videos. Well, that automatically makes the majority of my subscribers not interested in Terraria videos, so despite YouTube recommending the video to most of them, only a small percentage would actually want to watch it, which makes the algorithm think, well, not many of CJS's subs actually like this video, which must mean it's rubbish, so we're gonna stop promoting it altogether. This is the problem I've faced with past Terraria videos, as well as the more extreme case of Mario Kart World, which sucks. But enough of that, this was a good ranking video, starting off with the longest OST ever of over 15 minutes, before later breaking my green screen in the underground theme. But the thing that stands out to me the most is the sheer impact of the gunshot-like sound, as it is devastating. When I started mimicking the filtered transient noise, I thought it would be good to recoil backwards, maybe even knock the green screen over, but I can promise I had absolutely no intention to push back so hard I would fall backwards on top of my green screen, and I instantly knew I broke something. In conclusion, excluding that, this really was the video of all time. B tier. Following on from episode 1, I was hoping, as the thumbnail was a little different to usual, that could have contributed to the loss of views. So I decided to go back with what I knew worked, with music expert crashing out over the Terraria Vanilla Calamity OST. I swapped the Terraria and Vanilla around. But what did work was this intro I recorded at my job mid-shift, and unfortunately no one other than my mate who helped me record this and a future intro knows about this, so I don't get sacked. At least I blurred out the uniform badge. Also carrying on from episode 1, I thought of another reason as to why the series may have had less views and a general really poor average view duration. Excluding my first ever OST ranking back in August 2024, this is a completely new dynamic of reactions, and I'd already heard pretty much every track over the last 2/3 of the year whilst playing Terraria, so that took away a lot of the excitement and surprise factor previous rankings had, which at times were key factors in making the video memorable. This episode did have the exception of the incredible Nature's Reprieve theme of the jungle, and Arlehian, I still can't get it right after all this time, depths, alternate theme of the deep abyss, as they were only recently released and setting reliant respectively, with other highlights of this sticker being made in my Discord and the return of Julian Miguel. I did have a lot of fun with this recording, and with the 2 new OSTs and overall slightly better standard in my opinion, I'd place this just slightly above its predecessor. Once again, I decided to go back with what I knew worked, or at least with the title, as I took inspiration from my most viewed video ever, with ULTRAKILL is the best game ever. This week I finally came up with an original intro, which was handy as I recorded it on a separate day to the actual gameplay, so I didn't have to spend 2 hours doing my hair to cover my hairline. Anyway, I noticed I started the gameplay off really quick, at least for me, just a minute in to take flight, get traumatised. No, something, no, I don't even want to play this. I am not going through this trauma again. Discover a secret boss, play Crash Bandicoot, and absolutely destroy V1.
The only thing V1 ever dodged was character development.
お前はもう死んでいる。
The main premise of this video was completing layer 5, Wrath, which started off perfectly by accidentally discovering the secret level through the power of bells, which will come into play later, before taking the mick out of Sentry's movements. Genuinely one of the hardest I've laughed while playing a game ever. They're moving like this. I will say, upon watching this video back, my energy and edits didn't quite seem to be at the same level as the previous 2 or 3 episodes, with less real standout moments, if that makes sense, and I concluded this video saying 6-7 before it even became a meme. And people say I'm not ahead of my time. Literally no one says that, and it's not even something I should be proud of, so for that reason, I'm going to place this at the bottom of B tier. After having a week off, we returned back to the OST rankings, but this time with the TERRARIA CALAMITY OST, Vanilla, is so good. I put the Vanilla in brackets and near the end of the title, so hopefully less people would notice it and just read it as the TERRARIA CALAMITY OST, as that got more views on my channel. Well, did it work? Let's find out. But first, the coming up sequence returned, but now with a montage of clips before I sat in an old fridge. Tell me you've run out of intro ideas without telling me you've run out of intro ideas. Despite me knowing before I even press record that this video probably wasn't going to perform particularly well, the worst OST ranking video ever in fact, with just 1,700 views, I didn't let that affect the analysis one bit, as I'd actually say this is one of my best ranking videos ever, primarily due to tons of standout moments such as breaking the second green screen leg, Diesel, enough said, celebrating with CJS, and ruining the entire video with one of my worst jokes ever. We should start calling her Heart Plus Uplift. Yeah, after that I need to delete not only this video, but my entire channel. F tier. No, seriously, the great reactions, as well as once again hearing 2 new themes, this time being Crimson, I'd say that this is probably the 3rd best ranking I've ever done. Oh, by the way, this is also the 3rd time I tried to do something different with a ranking thumbnail, and the 3rd time it didn't work. Next up features one of my favourite thumbnails with probably the best hidden Moris in it. A trend I've implemented in all of the episodes in the series, including this one, how not to perfect ULTRAKILL. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. This intro is peak cinema. Huge shout out to my dad for coming up with the idea to go on a date with my green screen. 10 out of 10. Also, I'm looking dapper in that suit. I completely forgot how hard I cooked with the Sonic Green Hill Zone rap and Cyber Grind montages. Almost 2 full minutes of crazy editing and full adrenaline before ruining it all by somehow accidentally muting the gameplay and raging over trying to P-rank 3-1. This is all an objective to unlock the hardest challenge I've faced to this day. P-1. The Flesh Prism wasn't too bad, however that was just a warm-up to Minos Prime. It's death! Despite taking the time to learn his attack patterns and spending an hour trying to take him down, he was just too difficult for me at this stage. The final 30 minutes of the 5th episode saw me take on the 2 levels in Heresy, which I spent ages exploring and eventually breaking. Yes! Oh! I've glitched outside the level! What? The edits were pretty decent here as well, but of course the main focal point was CJS versus Gabriel Apostate of Hate. as this was the Act 2 climax, and the monologue leading up to it is possibly the most iconic in the entire game. I wanted to make it as cinematic as possible. However, I made the mistake of using snippets of other creators' work without labelling the credit, which was never my intention. I've added it now, but after spending so long of recreating Gabriel's text in the same way, I forgot to add it in. At least it culminated in one of my greatest screams.
Cut you down, break you apart, splay the gore of your profane form across the stars. I will grind you down until the very sparks cry for mercy. My hands shall relish ending you here and now.
Oh my god! The other criticism I got in this video was using AI voice lines of Gabriel, and despite it sounding deliberately jank, I wasn't aware of the problem going on right now of AI potentially taking over voice actors' jobs, so I addressed it and apologised for it near the start of the next episode. Looking past that, however, the battle was incredible, narrowly defeating him after the P1 practice earlier. First try, of course, which concluded another great video with lots of highs. A tier. My 22nd and currently final Terraria video came at the beginning of August, which was ranking the GOAT Vanilla Terraria Calamity soundtrack, a title to imitate the original series 11 months prior. I literally went into every room in my house asking myself, where haven't I done an intro yet? Oh yeah, I haven't done one in the bathroom. How fun! That water was so cold. This episode featured 11 tracks, with all of them being boss themes, excluding the last one being an emotional renaissance of Dean DeCours's legacy. Looking at the analytics, this whole series, but especially this video, had a really poor average view duration of just 8.7%. Maybe I need to start doing shorter intros, as only 30% was left at the 25-second mark for some reason, which is a shame as they missed out on me nearly crying over the Wall of Flesh theme, Fated Insurrection, from both the nostalgia and PTSD after the iconic battle in the end, which, spoiler alert, actually became my GOAT for this series too. The video also ended with a bang through the aforementioned resurrection of a cruel world with banging. Once again, I will say, as I'd already heard the vast majority of these tracks, it was naturally hard to have any real standout moments. However, it did help with analysing the tracks and understanding Hard Plus Up's perceptive emotion. But for me, it's not quite as good as episode 3, however not far off either, so another A tier. Now we move on to my second most viewed non-music ranking video, currently accumulating at 19,000 views, ULTRAKILL Doesn't Scare Me. And just to clarify, in case you didn't realise from the thumbnail, it does. So let's just get straight to that moment, no messing around. I'm playing the first level of Layer 7 Violence, fitting name come to think of it, completely unaware of anything. The music's just stopped with like 100 mannequins looking at me after I take the skull, moments before disaster. Don't mind if I do, just go through here. Oh, please say they're not going to jump scare me. I hate jump scares. Oh, but I'm absolutely petrified. Okay, the red skull is over here now, so let's just get that. Honestly, a solid quarter of the comments was about this moment, including the comment of the week that I pinned saying that I can see the reaction to the jump scare become a viral meme if done correctly. And you best believe, for my next video, where it will feature the top 50 CJS moments of 2025 in order, this will place right near the top. Also, I want to show you quick my attention analysis for this video. I have never seen on anyone's video before such a spike for one moment. Now for the rest of the video, as there's a lot to get through. The intro was actually multiple takes, just for some reason I was watched at darts on this particular day, hitting everywhere but Minos's heads. Also, you can't really see, but custom CJS darts. Technically my first piece of merch. But as I knew Violence featured 4 levels, not including the secret cleaning simulator, yeah, we'll get onto that, I decided to get right on it by re-attempting P-1 after admitting defeat last episode. A lot of tips came in from you lot, which was much appreciated and helpful. However, what was not much appreciated and helpful was my parry key going on strike when it felt like it, making the already brutal battle even worse. But after almost an hour, 96 deaths and an inspirational talk from Rocky, which for some reason ran on 20 FPS in the edit, I finally prevailed with the cleanest combo. No, not now, not now. Yes! Yes! Come on! 5 minutes later, a particular jump scare happened, followed by My traumatised brain thought a plain wall was suspicious, called Bing Johninator an idiot, said Cerberus was thick, made an Illuminati joke solidifying Unk status, jump scared by Minotaur again, gave V1 some nail polish, overthrew the government. Well, I guess it did look a little bit second hand. Became Logan Paul in a Japanese forest, my traumatised brain having damaged symptoms, and again. I should probably see a doctor. So should this guy. I mean, maybe. Load a nuke, have a P rating of 1, have ants in my pants. No!
Whoa, calm down, Jamal.
Morph into a seal. Unlock the alternate shotgun. Fail English class again. Jump scared by a mannequin again. Acquire the 300th Linked Africa set. My traumatised brain experienced more trauma. Diesel, Gandhi, Weezer. Morph into a rhino. And finally, a little break from the enemies. We've got a little pool party here. What? Finally, to conclude this Ultra episode, I spent 45 minutes just on cleaning, which actually made me feel a little sick as I was recording for 6 hours at this point, before moving on to the final level currently in the game, 7-4, CJS versus the Earth Mover. This whole level is incredible, and even though my edits have been the best they'd ever been throughout, I didn't really need much here, as the gameplay and alarms was more than enough. Let's go! Oh my god! Look at all the blood being rained down! Oh my god! Despite ULTRAKILL doesn't scare me, being the longest video I've ever produced at 1 hour and 35 minutes, hence why it came out 2 days late, it is possibly the most entertaining throughout. Another S tier and another very strong contender for the GOAT. I've just realised how long I've been recording for, not even including the lost footage, and how this video could be even longer than the hour and 35 record. So let's speed things up now by ranking the Risk of Rain 2 DLC soundtrack, and to make sure this video comes out before I start ranking the 2026 videos. I promised this series after having to split the original into 3 separate episodes, and although these didn't do great view-wise, hence 3 for the response, I had a ton of fun. Speaking of promising things, remember the other intro I said I recorded at my job mid-shift? Well, after digging out the most ridiculous lost property items, I created this monstrosity. Damn, that swimming hat was so tight. The rest of the video I wouldn't say was the greatest, not because of my reactions, but due to there only being one A tier track and the rest B or lower, which naturally makes it harder to have any memorable moments. So for that reason, I'll be harsh and say C tier, as for me it's probably one of the most forgettable videos I've uploaded, at least in recent time, and also I know how the OST quality has improved dramatically for the final episode. Music expert reacts to They Might As Well Be Dead, plus more. Back to running out of ideas, as this intro's quality did not improve dramatically. The only reason I've rated it a 4 instead of a 3 is because it features Diesel. Plus I had to record it like 5 times as once again I had no phone storage. Like I said, these 5 tracks were on another level, as once again we heard a singular A tier track, but also now 3 S tier tracks with The Face of the Deep, the title They Might As Well Be Dead, and the GOAT Survivors of the Void DLC soundtrack Once in a Lullaby, where I tried to prove, mainly to myself, that I can sing. Somewhere over the rainbow. I can't. For some reason, my eye pains are back in this recording, which you can kind of see in my right eye, in particular near the start of the video being quite bloodshot. However, unlike episode 2 of the base soundtrack, I pushed through and didn't let that affect my performance in the slightest, as both myself and you in the comments agreed my reactions were great throughout, but still nowhere near the level of Chris Christodoulou. He really went all out with the most bonkers of textures, especially in The Face of the Deep, which you can see here. Jesus! What in the Ghostbusters are synth was that? And to finalise the video and the whole Risk of Rain 2 ranking series, after declaring the GOAT once more, I ended with an in-depth Chris Christodoulou conclusion, which upon watching it back, I was really proud of. So overall, another video where I'd be liking and subbing. I will say, although I analysed all the tracks quite deeply, as there was only 5 across the whole video, I feel like the pacing may have been a little bit too slow for some people, so for that reason I'll place it in the mid to lower end of of A tier. Honestly, these 6 soundtrack reactions could all easily be interchangeable, and asking me to rank these separately on another day could possibly yield some different results, and I'm sure we'll see that trend continue later when we start ranking the Hollow Knight Silksong OST too. Who am I kidding? It does. I've already recorded it once. Editing CJS here. In my re-recording, I actually forgot to do comment of the week, so here we go. Firstly, a shout out to MKWK47 for donating on my last video. I really appreciate all the support on the channel recently. But the winner for comment of the week comes from a reply from a random Soldat statement of, I ate a Bible. Okay, and this got a lot of replies for some reason, such as did it taste good, did it taste bad, but the probably not cancerous hamper, crazy name by the way, and an even better profile picture. You should 100% scan that barcode to get a step further with, that's going to be a holy... Yeah, I feel like when I first saw this I laughed a little more than I probably should have, but congratulations anyway. And as usual, if you'll have a chance to be featured as comment of the week for the 7th and final normal Hollow Knight Silksong episode, make sure you subscribe and comment down below. Now, back to the video. Just a couple days after uploading that video, I began my next TERRARIA CALAMITY playthrough episode, which took 7 days of straight recording. So whilst I began the mammoth task of editing the almost 60 hours of footage, I needed a quick and easy video to compose, so please welcome CJS best green screen moments for 8 minutes straight. This is one of the rare scenarios where the intro actually turned out better than expected, as holding my green screen hostage was pretty funny. Can I go see my family now? However, as you can see by the 1 originality rating, basically the entire video was just reused clips. I did have the related video and date up in the top left, just like I have right now, however, I've just edited that out so it doesn't look all messy. Yeah, really not too much else to say for this one, other than the fact it is my second shortest published video at, obviously, 8 minutes, but because it is not original, I just can't place it any higher than the bottom of D tier. Notice how I mentioned shortest published video there, as this is a video that's never really truly seen the light of day, with just 2 views. And one of them was me, as this was the KSI Try Not To Laugh IRL video submission. So as you may or may not know, soon I'll be appearing on a KSI video. However, to get on there, you had to click on a link he put on his channel, which I just happened to find at the perfect time, submit a form and upload a 60 to 90 second unlisted video explaining and showing what you'd like to perform for KSI and a mystery guest and why it would be good for the video. In the end, I actually spent quite a while perfecting everything to give myself the best possible chance, as well as saying I've almost got 10,000 subscribers and I've made tons of videos myself, so I know what would be good for entertainment purposes. And yes, I dropped my trousers here too, although this was before the pink stockings idea. Despite only getting 1 unique viewer and no comments or likes, why does this have a response rating of 10? Well, soon after, I'd received an email confirming I'd beaten over 20,000 applicants and been invited to London in a couple of weeks to perform in front of KSI and Deji. So as much as I'd like to put this video high up for that, unfortunately I can't, as it is an unreleased video, so it's disqualified from the ranking. That email came midway through the 8th and currently final OST ranking series featured on the channel, which of course made me very, very happy, ranking the Hollow Knight Silksong soundtrack. Starting of course with the intro, and one that was 3 years in the making, as I'd been collecting my used toilet rolls all for this moment, where I had just 1 take. Also, a shout out to my dad once again, who spent over an hour building this tower just for it to topple over multiple times. After introducing the tiers, I started off with the Silksong title theme before moving on to Enter Farloom, where just 2 tracks in, I knew this whole soundtrack was going to be incredible and a series I'd thoroughly enjoy recording. And that's not even mentioning the eventual final progressor Strive, where by tradition the green screen feared for its life. Oh, let's add that to the collection of holes in my wall. As this was the first episode in the series, and I knew it would bring a lot of new people to the channel, I prioritised giving deeper explanations to more simple music techniques, which I think was a good idea. However, in doing that, I then made a few mistakes near the start, such as misidentifying a time signature, which is completely my bad, and I will hold my hands up for those errors. However, in the comments, I received a fair bit of negativity, unfortunately, with some even claiming that I use AI or ChatGPT for my videos, which is firstly quite sad to read, as I put a ton of effort into my recordings and videos altogether and completely goes against the authenticity that the CJS channel is about. But also it makes no sense, as surely if I scripted my videos out, then there'll be less mistakes, not more, right? Also, I will admit, I did have a bit of hope that this could have been my biggest video ever, as Silksong had only just come out and there was a bunch of hype around the game at this point, which did not quite happen as it's currently sitting on 14,000 views, which is still decent, but due to the mistakes on my end, I feel like it kind of overshadowed the good bits, so it can only go in C tier. On a much more positive note, after a lot of anticipation, it was now time for the biggest day of my life, as CJS meets KSI. That is something I never thought I'd say, wow. For this intro, I came up with the idea of editing me going on stage, which I think was a great idea, especially with the brothers looking shocked. However, as I was in a massive deadline rush, I didn't have a lot of time to perfect the green screen setting, so it didn't look the best. The night before this day, I did not sleep at all, and I spent so long practicing my performance. It also didn't help that my journey through the London Underground was honestly a complete disaster, as I got on multiple wrong trains. Probably because I was playing Tip Dip Doo. But once I eventually arrived, I vlogged the whole experience, even meeting a few other fans and filming an exclusive TikTok with Max Kadar and Isaac Batcher, who by the way still somehow follows me back on there. Bro must be loving the recent Silksong ranking videos. Before doing a live first time reaction of my performance and detailing some interesting insights and behind the scenes of actually meeting KSI and Deji, which really couldn't have gone better. I will say, any footage that I recorded on my phone instead of my actual vlogging camera for some reason became really over contrasted, so I spent ages in the final edit trying to readjust all the colour balance, as this is what it looked like before. But overall, it was the most insane of days, both filming it and seeing myself on a KSI video, which by the way, my performance is technically the most viral KSI IRL try not to laugh video ever, as the one I'm on is the most viewed one in the entire series, currently on 8 million views, and I was also the first contestant featured in that video, which I'll talk about more in my vlog, and that's not even including the millions of views that I got on TikTok as well. Like, it's just crazy, because like, over 10 million people's first impression of me is my trousers falling down and I'm wearing pink stockings. Like, what is life? This is a really tricky one to rank, as the actual vlog itself, I'd probably place as only a B tier, probably around here. But the actual performance that the video is based off is possibly the single greatest thing I've done in my entire life. You know, it's my claim to fame. So for that reason, it just has to be S tier, and I'm 100% 10 in the grandkids. Unless I met, I don't know, Mr. Beast or Jesus himself, there is no video that I could upload that would top that. However, I can definitely get close with the thumbnail of the Hollow Knight Silksong OST Got Me Like. I don't usually mention shorts much in these videos, however 2 days before I uploaded the aforementioned vlog, I finally hit 10,000 subscribers, which I celebrated just a tiny little bit. Yeah! Yeah! And so, for this video's intro, I had to do a special one, which was actually suggested to me months prior in my Discord server, which went okay, although it was incredibly embarrassing, saying good morning, good afternoon, good evening, welcome back to the CJS channel, looking into a camera in the middle of a pub with the bartender and lots of other people watching you. After popular request, I began the video by renaming S tier to Sure, and prayed it wasn't a slur as I got told not to ask what it meant, before having a short diesel segment, always the best segment, and taking the mick out of the person who made the OST videos by calling Deep Docks Deep Rocks. Both fourth chorus and the winner for this episode, Lace, were incredible. However, other than a few funny clips, I personally wouldn't say there were any real true memorable moments like we will see in the coming episodes. Plus, I concluded the video by tragically making a 6-7 joke. So although that doesn't particularly bode well for the ranking, I really paid extra attention to make sure I didn't get anything wrong, which thankfully resulted in the negative comments disappearing. So for that reason, I will place this in A tier along with the others. Oh, also, by the way, this is the 4th time I tried something different with a ranking thumbnail, and the 4th time it didn't work in terms of views. So that's why for episode 3, a few weeks later, I went back to a more traditional CJS ranking video with a very accurate title of Widow is Incredible. Music expert reacts to more Hollow Knight Silksong. Fortunately, just recently I'd returned from a trip to Morocco for my birthday, where I'd managed to film a fair few unique intros, including this one where I drove a dune buggy in the middle of the Agafay Desert. A crazy intro to prelude a crazy video as a whole, which started off in the best possible way with some BOOMS! Which, as you can see, I was slightly happy about. And the S tier tracks continued as I did my once per series ascension with Widow and ended with one of the most beautifully emotional soundtracks we've ever heard on the channel with Biowater, which in the comments received a plethora of compliments on my accurate context prediction and analysis. So nothing bad about this video, right? Right? I once again concluded the video by tragically making a 6-7 joke. I had to get one in! I mean, this comment loves them. I think. Other than that, however, I can't fault this video at all. With a lot of these OST reactions, especially more recently, there's not really too much unique to discuss as they all have the same premise behind it, you know, which is a part of the reason as to why these videos will be changing once the series is complete. But anyway, another A tier. And these things have changed quite dramatically with the following episode. Scooby-Doo reacts to the Hollow Knight Silksong soundtrack. Again, that's another sentence I never thought I'd say, but as I was already dressed up, I thought it'd be a missed opportunity to not feature the famous Scooby-Doo meme for the intro. However, just like Music Expert reacts to the new ULTRAKILL soundtracks, it didn't quite look as good as I initially planned. But just like CJS earlier, this outfit wasn't bought specifically for the video, which I'll explain in a minute, but as soon as I started analysing the opening track, The Mist, I knew this was going to be a slightly uncomfortable recording as I was stupidly hot in that. But hey, anything for the content, right? The only thing that could possibly distract me from the heat was Christopher Larkin's fire. Damn, I went this long in the recording without making a terrible joke, to be fair. You know what? That's not too bad. But of course, he delivered with the transition to Phantom, bringing with it a retention spike similar to the ULTRAKILL jump scare. The organ becomes evil, enraged, egotistical. For some reason, that comment became particularly famous within my community. But on a completely different note, watching the video back now, I've just realised that the small green parts on Scooby's collar registered as part of the green screen, which is pretty funny. But ignoring that, as I started to understand the context of Hollow Knight Silksong more, my predictions and reactions altogether were some of the best they've ever been. Particularly with my favourite track of this episode, Red Maiden. And on top of all of that, I became a changed man and didn't include any 6-7 jokes. If that doesn't deserve higher A tier, then I don't know what does. I did say I was going to talk about the outfit choice a little more, and you know what? Let's start off 2026 with Chapter 6 of Storytime with CJS. I'll only be quick because I don't really have much time, but I bought my Scooby-Doo outfit ready for Halloween, although I wasn't even 100% sure if it should be considered as a Halloween outfit, as realistically, who's scared of Scooby-Doo? Well, very soon after, when I went out to beat my mates, I had my answer. So picture this right, I walk into a bar on Halloween dressed up as Scooby-Doo to meet my mates. There's probably about 15 of us in there, and one of the first people that I see is one of my best mates' girlfriend. And she sees me, says, oh no, gets up, runs away on the verge of tears. I was like, right, well that's a bit weird. And then her best friend looks at me, says, oh no, gets up, runs away after her. And then her boyfriend, one of my best mates, gets up, looks at me, says, oh no, and runs away after her as well. And I'm like, what is going on? Why is everyone looking at me? Says, oh no, and runs away. Well, turns out, that girl, she has a phobia of Scooby-Doo. Sorry? A phobia of Scooby-Doo. I've not ever heard of that, and I actually felt really bad because apparently I ruined her night, and I did apologise to her after, but I was like, sorry, but how was I meant to know that you have a phobia of Scooby-Doo? I did not even realise that was a thing in the first place, and I talked to some people at work about it, and then there was a girl that I talked about there, and she was like, yeah, well, to be fair, I have a friend that has a phobia of a singular grain of rice. So rice all together on a plate, perfectly fine, but when there's just a singular grain of rice left, then that's a phobia apparently. At what point do we need to just start like questioning people like a little bit more? Maybe a few mental tests? I don't know. But let me know in the comments what your weird phobia is, if you have one. I mean, I only have one phobia, which is astrophobia, a fear of lightning. So yeah, that is... I don't even know what to say. Let's just close the book for story time with CJS, Chapter 6. I hope you enjoyed probably the last story time with CJS for quite a while, and of course it has to be mentioned as it's probably more obvious than ever before. This was the 5th time I tried something different with a ranking thumbnail, and the 5th time it didn't work in terms of views. Because of that, I wanted to make sure this next episode was big. And also because it's the first time since my original Minecraft series where I uploaded 4 videos in a row on the same topic. So what better way to do it than by replicating my biggest ever video with Silksong has the best soundtrack ever. Honestly, I couldn't have chosen a better video to do this, as even just ignoring the fact I opened it up by hanging out the side of a hot air balloon 1500 feet in the sky, out of the 8 tracks listened, analysed and ranked, we had 1 B tier, 2 A tiers and a whopping 5, yes 5 in S tier. Cogwork Dancers, Choral Chambers, Cogwork Core, Trobio and the Choir made it over 50% of the tracks at the top, which is completely unheard of. With Mr. Larkin going all out on the tracks, I also went all out by giving nothing but my absolute best reactions. From bringing out my old guitar to play some notes for the first time, to whatever this is. It went like... doo-doo. Honestly, the bass has... Excluding the Ultra Finals, this was definitively the greatest standard of music in a single episode ever, which naturally created and brought together some of the greatest and most memorable CJS moments of recent time. Silksong has the best soundtrack ever, in my personal opinion, is easily the greatest video I've made in the second half of 2025, and you bet on 10 the grandkids. S tier. Now you might be thinking, why are there 2 videos here featured in a row with the same thumbnail? And that's a very good question, which you may well be able to work out from the title, Catching ULTRAKILL'S Size 2 Fish Live Trailer. As I was setting up my stream ready for the following day, I wanted to bring some hype with a trailer which would feature the episode's intro montage, this time with the World Looks Red OST. However, I discovered I'd have to upload a separate unlisted video of it in order to do so. When it was uploaded, I did also send a link out in my Discord server, so congratulations to the 55 people that have seen one of the rarest CJS videos. But with just 48 seconds of footage that took about half an hour to compose, I've scored it pretty low with just a total of 21, and it's going to be ranking even lower than that as it's disqualified for being unlisted. At least it scored highly on the entertainment side of things, which I aim to replicate with the following stream, Catching ULTRAKILL'S Size 2 Fish Live. Just a month prior, I uploaded a short saying, do not subscribe! As for each one gained on the short, I would do 1 extra minute of fishing in ULTRAKILL. And the reason I did it like this is because I do not ever want to do a 24-hour straight challenge again. Although I'm sure I will at some point. The problem was, it became my second most successful short ever as I gained 131 subscribers, equating to 2 hours and 11 minutes of fishing. But before that, I had a plan, starting with talking to chat and cutting to me high up in the Moroccan mountains underneath a waterfall, although technically I'd already done the livestream intro, hence the 1 rating, and talking to chat again before having a very cool announcement. But wait, what's that? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the CJS stream. You want to see a fade transition? Here's a fade transition for you. You want to see another one? Here's another one. That is right. The last 3 minutes was all pre-recorded. That was the coolest thing I've ever done. The whole time prior, I was talking to a pretend chat, which is something I'd wanted to do for ages, and it worked absolutely perfectly. However, this was unfortunately the highlight of the stream. If you ignore the fact that my new chat setup didn't work properly by not showing the donator's name, the start was great fun. Playing ULTRAKILL again for the first time in 3 months to get back to 5-S, I only say morning, and attempt to catch the mythical size 2 fish. Both me and chat had a lot of fun working out how to get through the base level and clip farming. How about, right, someone put it in the chat, or you spam in the chat, you got to Alt F4 for the size 2 fish, and I'll do it and we'll make a clip farm out of it. How about that? I'm still trying to get the size 2 fish. You got to Alt F4 for the size 2 fish. Everyone's spamming Alt F4. Okay, here we go. Alt F4. What? How dare you, chat? Was that convincing, chat? Was that good? Before later on speedrunning the level, discovering cheats to break the game. Here we go. We're gonna fish in here. Oh my god, it's so laggy. Before concluding with traditional green screen drama, going through my Discord DMs, which was a mistake, and talking about the future of the channel with Diesel. So that all sounds good, right? Well, after the stream had finished, I was actually really down and disappointed with myself and my performance. I felt like at times the stream seemed a little boring, to the point where for the very first time I started to have doubts whether I could actually make it on YouTube. After sleeping on it for a few days and just taking some time for myself to really think about it, I realised I was actually kind of doomed from the start, as in my original stream where I played Terraria Calamity, the majority of the highlights either came from my live Discord Q&A that I did, or from random in-game events that could happen. So for example, the Skeletron fight that I had. Here in 5-S, there was nothing like that. And after the first 20 minutes or so where I completed level for the first time, there really wasn't much else to do for the remaining couple of hours, so it became quite repetitive, and it wasn't like I just could quit it and do something else, as I was stuck doing it. That was the whole point of the challenge. I am glad I did this stream. I don't regret it, as I think I learned a lot about myself and also where I might want to take the channel in the future. However, as I do personally believe it was overall much worse than the Terraria fishing stream, I will place this in D tier. The penultimate video of this year was how I solved ULTRAKILL'S size 2 fish myth, livestream, highlights and best bits. However, it was edited down more like a standard ULTRAKILL playthrough episode. That meant 35 minutes filled with a bunch of hilarious moments with voiceovers and editing, which made a monumental difference, really solidifying for me just how important editing is and why I always want to be able to express my creativity this way, such as this. Bros, click farming! Click farming! Everyone point at laugh!
Say the line!
Lincoln Rogers 4353. Clip farming. I should also state, the waterfall intro is counted for this one, as dare I say we're back playing ULTRAKILL, whereas at the beginning of the stream, I said we're live streaming. Not really too much else to say honestly, and I do need to wrap this video up soon, as it's 3 AM and I'm absolutely shattered, other than the fact that I just realised that I forgot to include any timestamps on this video, which is just my third public video to not have any, with literally every video on April 1st and CJS best green screen moments for 8 minutes straight being the 2 before it. But with all the editing, it made the stream look actually quite good. So much so, I'd actually put it above its highlights and best bits predecessor in C tier. I think the biggest travesty of this video is the fact it absolutely flopped in terms of views, especially for an ULTRAKILL episode. But yeah, C tier. And finally, we move on to the 42nd and last video of 2025, where I return back to the OST rankings with Hollow Knight Silksong Gone Wrong at 3 AM. On the same day in Morocco as the previous intro, I found another waterfall, however this one didn't quite look as epic on camera, as here I'm actually twice as high as I was in the hot air balloon from part 5, roughly 3,000 feet above sea level. What was absolutely epic, however, was the opening track Awakening. I was warned a ton in the comments about this one, and my word did it not disappoint, with a pretty memorable reaction from me too. The Awakening of Diasire Grass Edition! It's so crunchy, stabbing you with every figure, and despite it being in the low to mid register, it pierces through the bells. But they're not church bells, so I can't do that segment. Dishonour! Bells! Scarsinger Carmelita and Nihilith were also both worthy of S tier as well, and that's without knowing the tragic context behind the latter track, which I will discuss properly in my final normal episode in a couple of weeks' time. The reason for the Gone Wrong at 3 AM thumbnail and title was based off the insane level Christopher Larkin once again possessed. What am I meant to title this video? Silksong has the best soundtrack ever, in brackets, but not reprieve? 24-hour challenge gone wrong at 3 AM? I mean, hey, more potential views. Which was ironically backed up a few seconds later with the eerie inharmonic drone at the beginning of Sands of Carrick. Despite being the longest episode so far and not quite having the same soundtrack level throughout, this actually resulted in my best average view duration for the entire series, which I can only imagine was due to my super accurate analysis and predictions. These are really difficult to rank now. I know we'll be in A tier within these other what, 9 soundtrack videos in a row. And despite the lower views, I think I'm going to place it just above Risk of Rain 2's Con lentitud poderosa, as that only featured 5 tracks. And as by tradition at this point, so say it with me, this was the 6th video where I tried to do something different with a ranking thumbnail, and the 6th time it didn't work. So now, with that, all 42 videos and 2 live streams have been ranked, excluding the 7 in S tier. So let's commence that and declare the greatest of 2025 here on the CJS channel. Starting off, we have the easiest decision being CJS Meets KSI. Like I said earlier, the actual vlog itself would only place in around high B tier, as it was the actual spectacle of meeting one of my YouTube idols before dropping my trousers in front of him and over 10 million other people that carried it. Still can't believe that happened. Next, we almost have a tie between Silksong has the best soundtrack ever and ULTRAKILL has the best soundtrack ever. And although every video from this point onwards has a total score of 43 out of 50, and no, that wasn't even planned by the way, for me, just because of how iconic the Tenebrae Sangue incident is, I think the latter just about takes the biscuit for being my best OST reaction video I have ever done. In 4th place, I have the other vlog, my dream holiday vlog number 1. It features the most crazy and incredible activities from one of the greatest weeks of my life, where I even managed to tick off the number 1 thing that's been on my bucket list since 2018. And I cannot wait to expand on it in another vlog where I do the same, if not even crazier and outrageous activities in a few months' time. Now, we only have playthrough videos left, and taking home the bronze medal was for me personally the one I enjoyed the least, and that was fishing for 24 hours straight in TERRARIA CALAMITY full movie. Excluding probably the 2 vlogs, this one had the greatest storyline with some brilliant voiceovers where I pushed myself both mentally and physically to the absolute edge. Well, at one point over the edge. However, despite it being based off the greatest in 2024, where I fished for 24 hours straight in Minecraft, for me personally, I just don't think it was quite as entertaining as the 2 finalists, The End and ULTRAKILL doesn't scare me. Both of these videos will go down in history, but in my savage opinion, there can only be one winner. So the greatest of 2025 here on the CJS channel is The End! Although ULTRAKILL doesn't scare me, will always have a special place in my heart for being the video that surpassed us at 1 million total channel views. The End is genuinely the only video I've ever gone out of my way to watch back months later after uploading it, purely for my own entertainment purposes. A lot of people in the comments also claim that this is one of the best videos ever uploaded on YouTube, which is a monumental accomplishment for me, and I feel very proud of it, and therefore deserving of the GOAT. Thank you for watching all the way through this video. It has been an extremely long one, especially for me, having to do the majority of this twice, but I hope you have enjoyed. Don't forget to click the link down in the description to take you to your own version of this tier list, and then send it to me in the Discord for a guaranteed shout out on my next video. And also, don't forget to subscribe so you can check out the following videos, where next week I'll be having the best CJS moments from 2025 in a montage, before the following week I finally return back to the Silksong OST ranking series, and also I talk about the future on the channel and last year's sub goal and how I failed it, which will be a separate video, so hopefully I can get 2 videos out in 1 week there. Wow, but yeah, it's been an incredibly long video, and literally for me, good night. But yeah, C tier. Oh, I went a little bit too loud of that one. I've got a headache now, and I've definitely woken up the whole street at 3:05 AM.